So, The Narrows by Ronald Malfi is a horror novel from 2012. I believe it is his 11th novel. Normally, I like to start in chronological order of the bibliography of a well-known author, but for some reason, I wanted to just start in the middle. So this premise sounded interesting, and so this is my first Ronald Malfi novel, and it was awesome. This is one of those horror novels that feels totally. Shut up. Oh my god. Sorry about that. Totally believable. It's like the premise is so cliche. You've seen it a billion times. Cliche characters like the small town hero cop, the divorced. I mean, the cheating wife, like soccer mom, um, blue collar wife, like all the old hicks in the town that are judging, like the mischievous kids that run away. It's all very intentionally cliche, like the premise of a late night B movie. This is the equivalent, but what it does is it transports it to the present and makes it all just the impact. It takes itself so seriously, and there's nothing the like realistic dialogue, really the way he describes action, gun violence. It's all just very. You can tell this person, this author has a familiarity with the real life elements and just the overall atmosphere of the town. He must come from a small town because I come from a small town. It's so authentically. It's just so authentic, is what it feels like. So basically, I forgot what it's probably in like Georgia or something. There's this, or I don't know, Louisiana, but there's this small town, and basically, I don't want to give too much away, but there's this theme of dying towns, right? And so there's people disappearing. I'm trying not to give anything away because I think this one. It's really good to go in blind. You'll get the most impact from that. But I will say one thing. This is a creature feature monster novel, so it's good to know that much. Like this is so basically this is the equivalent of like when you're 10 years old and you sneak out into the family RV so you can get on a tube TV and like put tinfoil on the antenna to get the channels that your parents won't let you watch at 1 in the morning, and there's this cheesy old late night horror movie, and you've never seen a horror movie in your life, and you're sitting there just and you can't take your eyes off because it's the most magical, scariest thing ever, and you feel like you're on an adventure because you're doing something bad that you're not supposed to be doing, but you're like I don't know, something from David Lynch or something. But basically that's but for adults. That's what it made me feel like. But I was like, I'm a grown ass man having that same nostalgic feeling. So I'd say this is like the most. It felt very like almost like a spiritual successor to Stephen King. Not to say Stephen King was ever too soft, but just a product of some things change. Like people, in a more modern setting in America, some people are colder. They don't communicate as brightly and jingoistically, and you notice these little details from reading books from the 70s and the 80s, like horror novels. You see this. There's this undercurrent of like something is remembered in like I compared it to Stephen King because that's what the vibes it reminded me of. I don't think, to be honest, I don't think most successful newer horror authors like Ronald Malfi would exist without Stephen King. But it doesn't feel like a Stephen King ripoff or anything. Um, I'm just being fair. So basically, like it just feels very like classy, like classic for horror tropes transported to the modern setting where it's all just so much more intense and faster paced, and like this is a horror thriller, and it really actually I haven't been thrilled by an actual horror novel that was newish. I suppose I'm old now and it's 2025, and like it actually came out in 2012, which is weird, but it feels new to me because I mean I'm behind on everything. So I really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. I had low expectations. I don't know why. This guy has great reviews, and I was just getting into it. Now it didn't. I won't say it like took any huge risks in the genre. It just used all the familiar elements and then performed really, really well, and it's just made a satisfying, um, engaging, unfolding mystery with actual suspense and actual grossness, and it, I don't want to give anything away, but you got to know what you're getting into. This novel's got some serious nastiness in it, and fearlessly impactful for doing so. Therefore, more immersive and challenging, and I'm totally a fan. So I'm actually way more excited to read the next Ronald Malfi novel. I'm going to try out December Park, which I think is his most top rated novel. So I'll tell you what I think about that. But if you like horror and you just want a good, fun story that's all pulp and thrills, the story is what it is like. Okay, it's whatever, you've seen it a million times, but the impact and oh, I forgot to mention the atmosphere is really, really nailed, and there is some deeper meta symbolism in the background, but that's better for the reader to discover for themselves. I don't want to like make too much of a statement on that to give anything away. But anyway, yeah, I strongly recommend The Narrows for horror fans. If you just want a good read, I give it a solid 8 out of 10, maybe an 8.5. Um, didn't blow my mind, but I had fun, and that's what good horror is really for. It's just dumb, fun, indulgent entertainment. And this one, I actually found myself being able to take seriously. Like, I did a review of The Cellar by Richard Lehman a few months ago, or actually a year ago, and I remember thinking to myself, this book is so utterly shocking and so intentionally sadistic that I couldn't stop reading it, and I did have a crazy, unique experience reading it because I was just so disgusted that I was like, wow, I'm slowly getting converted to this form of entertainment where you're so overloaded with, and that's where splatterpunk originally evolved as the subgenre in horror. And I thought to myself, um, that was a lot of fun because it took me to places I never would have imagined that I could only explore in fiction. Obviously, the realm of no consequences, and unless books are cursed, then you pick up some demonic possession of some kind as time goes on, and it makes you. No, I'm just kidding. But basically, I thought to myself, in hindsight, I'm like, but it had to be so over the top in order to give me that, and there's something a little bit corny and a little bit cheap and not so realistic about that. Like you're in a fun house. This didn't feel that way. This felt like it was more of an artistic, delivery of, but doing the same thing that like someone like Richard Lehman would have done, but doing it so realistically, more responsibly, with more dedication to all the little subtle details. Because the truth is, this guy knows how to write really, really well. Like he has a certain flow to the perfect balance of narration and dialogue and all those little details where it's never indulgent, it's never pretentious. There's no the author is totally invisible, and it really does feel like cinema in your mind. How when a moment of action or suspense happens, basically he's nailed the thriller horror writing style. That's just the delivery and the impact and the atmosphere is one of the most immersive stories that it's another reminder that sometimes when you have a really skilled writer, you can have um, a horror story work better as a book than a movie. Now, this would make a great movie in the right hands, but it wouldn't be a movie we've never seen. It'd be like every other horror movie. Um, but as a book, it just somehow it's scarier, somehow it works, and he's just really skilled. There's nothing else I can say about that. So maybe I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I don't know, but can't wait to read more books by. I strongly feel like every book I'm going to read by this author in the future, this is going to be one of those authors I can fall back on when I'm just in the mood for a good, quick horror story. So I'm really glad that I discovered this author. Anyways, that's about all I got to say for The Narrows. Had a great time with it. Good luck in the wasteland.